How's it going, Rogues Gallery? Today we're going to talk about how we are in the TCG Golden Age with the announcement of Project K, the League of Legends trading card game. I have kind of just come to the realization that we're just straight up in the golden age of TCGs. We're going to talk about it a little bit here, kind of talk about just the concept of it and some of the games coming out and why I think it's actually a very, very good thing for consumers and TCG fans alike. I think it's a great thing, good time to be alive for trading card game fans. So without further ado, let's get to it. So I've actually kind of talked about this general concept before. Several years back, I talked about how that I believe we were in a TCG renaissance. We had all of like these indie trading card games coming up through Kickstarter, kind of like spearheaded by the success of Flesh and Blood, a game that kind of came out of nowhere, small indie trading card game out of New Zealand, and it kind of proved to everyone that TCGs can last on the marketplace. Before Flesh and Blood, I want to say prior to about 2020, there was a general sentiment that, you know, if it's a new trading card game, if it's not one of the big three, which are Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon, then it's not going to last a couple years and it's just going to kind of die out. And I think that Flesh and Blood has really proven that to not be the case. And since Flesh and Blood, we've had games that have lasted for quite a while. You know, we also have like the Digimon card game and a bunch of other newer games that are kind of booming at the moment with, you know, we have One Piece, we have Grand Archive from Kickstarter. You know, they just recently celebrated their 1 year anniversary. We have other games that have been around for a very long time, just kind of like kicking it and having a little bit of a resurgence here, like Weiss Schwarz and Cardfight Vanguard. And there's a plethora of games currently on the market with new ones kind of like coming out every now and then. But what really solidified it for me and why I really believe we are either in the golden age or about to enter a golden age of trading card games is, like I mentioned, with the announcement of Project K, the League of Legends trading card game. Because what that means, and what I'm trying to say is it's not just because of this game, it's because of this game and a bunch of other games launching in 2025 next year. We have the aforementioned League of Legends trading card game, we have the Gundam trading card game, we have the Godzilla trading card game, we have Hololive, original or official card game, which technically released this year, but it might get a English release next year. We also have the Ultraman card game just came out. We also have the Genshin Impact trading card game as well. These 5 games are games that I personally am really looking forward to trying out and playing next year, and I will be covering them here on Red Zone Rogue. The Gundam card game, Godzilla card game, Hololive, I've already covered it a little bit, Genshin Impact card game, and the League of Legends TCGs. That's five new TCGs coming out in 2025 alone that I'm personally interested in trying on top of everything else. Because if you're a regular of the channel, you will know that I personally am really involved with Shadowverse Evolve and Grand Archive, with some other games being kind of like, you know, seconds here. I play WeCross, I play Cardfight Vanguard and Weiss Schwarz and Flesh and Blood occasionally, and a bunch of other stuff. So I'm a big fan of TCGs, and the fact that we have 5 new games launching next year, potentially in English, like I said, Hololive technically already came out this year, but it's not in English, is wild. And that's just kind of like the ones that I'm personally interested in. There are some other ones as well, so it's especially other ones in Japan and other languages. So it's kind of a wild time to be alive. And I think the surface level takeaway of this is there's too many trading card games. And while I don't disagree with that, I also think that's just kind of like the surface level take, because I think this is a very, very good thing for me, for you, fans of trading card games in general, because competition breeds excellence. I'm just going to put it that way. Because essentially, if all of the big dogs, right, if you're into Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh, or even a smaller game like Flesh and Blood, competition means that in order to stand out, these other games, these big games, will need to adapt to the marketplace and need to do stuff to entice players to play their game instead of any other game, which is just great for everyone. It's great for the people who play those games, and I think it's just great for the market in general. It also means, as a consumer, you have a lot of options. And I think that is also incredibly wonderful. You don't just have a couple games to pick and choose. You have a ton of options. If you want to play the Godzilla game, the Gundam game, if you want to play something that's already out like One Piece or Magic, or even just Pokemon. I don't really want to mention Pokemon too much in this video because I think Pokemon is its own thing. It's part of the TCG industry, technically, but I think it really lives outside of it as well. I think if other card games didn't exist, if TCG players didn't exist, people would still buy Pokemon cards, right? It's just, it is what it is. It's Pokemon, right? People are gonna buy. It's like the biggest IP in the world, or like the second biggest IP. I'm not sure exactly where it stands now, but it's huge, and Pokemon is its own thing. And I don't really count it when I'm talking about all this other stuff, because Pokemon can do whatever it wants, and people are still gonna buy it. But yeah, that's not exactly the case for all of these other games. We do have a lot of games that are resting on some of their IP laurels. Like I mentioned, all these new games that I mentioned are backed by huge brand IPs. There's very few unique original stuff out there. We do have Flesh and Blood. We do have like Japanese TCGs like WeCross that have their own original like world and characters and IPs. Same as like Shadowverse, which is part of its own thing. Though they use a lot of characters from other side games properties. It's not based on like it's not based on like a Pokemon or a One Piece or anything like that. So it's kind of few and far between. We do have a lot of IP stuff, and we do have games like Magic the Gathering that are trying to cash in on a lot of this IP clout. Traditionally, we have other games like Union Arena and Vice Shorts that do that as well, but it's interesting to see how Magic is really trying to adopt that as well, and trying to adopt a lot of anime-style art. Magic really feels like they're trying to cast their net as wide as possible in this kind of day and age, which makes a lot of sense, seeing how, like I said, I do believe we're entering, or possibly in the midst of a golden age, where anime TCGs and IP stuff tends to be where you want to be, and Magic is like, oh, we want to be there too. Our game can be that as well, which I find very fascinating. We'll have to see how well that works out for them, but I don't know, probably well. But overall, my overall takeaway is that I think this is a great thing for players, for potentially collectors. I'm not really on the collector finance side of things. I'm really talking about this in terms of someone who loves trading card games, who loves to play trading card games, and someone personally who likes to enjoy multiple trading card games. And I think just the competition is going to make everyone better. It's going to force these games to be better, or risk dying off. I forgot to even mention Altered. Altered is another original IP TCG as well. It's a great game. I'm really enjoying Altered actually right now. So you have a lot of options, and that's the other takeaway. As a TCG player, you have tons of options. I know some people will default to whatever their local game store is playing and whatever their friends are playing, but outside of that, if you want to build your own community, if you want to kind of like just get something to play at the kitchen table, your options are so varied, and you gotta know that some of these games are gonna come out swinging. The League of Legends card game, the Genshin Impact card game, hell, even Gundam, and I think Godzilla to a certain extent as well, are all gonna kind of like come out swinging, because those are IPs that have like a decent amount of brand recognition, especially for those like Gundams and like Genshin Impact and Hololive, but especially League of Legends, especially with Arcane being such a big thing as well. So yeah, I think it's just a great time to be a trading card game fan. I'm personally really looking forward to 2025. There is obviously the flip side of this, where most of these games may not survive, right? I think that's the easy negative takeaway, is that most of them are probably not going to survive. But up until now, there's a lot of games just kind of kicking, and I think some games have proven that if your goal as a company is to just keep making your game and not to just rake in money hand over fist, you can kind of do that with a small audience. You may not know this, but Force of Will, a TCG from a few years back that a lot of people think is dead, is not actually dead. They still make sets. But what they do is they make sets on a very small scale, and they have their print runs basically just print to demand. Or not print to demand, print to pre-order, I guess you could say. Where they print the product just for pre-orders, and that's it. And they're still around, and they still keep making sets. And I think the fact that they are still doing that, more than that, many years into their line, says that I think some of these games can just do it. Like, they can just work off the passion of the fans. I think that's pretty cool, to be honest, just in general. So 2025 is going to be a crazy year. All these games are coming out, the 5 that I mentioned, plus even more. And I'll be covering at least the 5 that I mentioned. Once again, possibly even more, in addition to my regular games, which, like I said, are Shadow vs. Evolve and Grand Archive, and maybe a little bit of Cardfight Vanguard. Yeah, I'm going to turn it now to you. What do you think of what I'm calling the golden age of TCGs? How do you feel about it? What games are you interested in? Like I said, I think the easy response is there are too many trading card games. But I think that's good. I think it's a good thing. I think competition is great, and I think options are great. And yeah, especially if you have the right mindset about going into some of these games. If you have the mindset of, like, you know, this is a small game, it might end up not sticking around, but at least I'll have these cards to play as kind of like a board game, then you can't really get burned. If you go into it thinking it's going to be the next big thing and you're going to make a lot of money off of it, there's a good chance that you might get burned on some of these. So I would just be careful. Word of caution to everyone out there. This is not a, you know, stonks, go buy into all these games. This is a more of a, if one of these speaks to you on a personal level, or just like something that you want to try out, go try it out. Now's the time. Now's the time to go try out some card games and see what they're about. And maybe, you know, enjoy something from an IP that you also really enjoy, because there's so many options now. There's likely something that you might enjoy out there. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching today. I'm gearing up to attend the Gundam card game world premiere event very soon. So, you know, I'm kind of jumping into the thick of it. I will have some coverage of that on the channel. Gonna be maybe doing a little vlog or something like that. Stay tuned. Maybe go check out my social media as well. Everything at Red Zone Rogue, both on Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. I will be posting pictures of it, and all the other games too. Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. All right, bye.